All right. I'm going to start this meeting. If you all can take your seats. This is the regular meeting of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks. Today's date, January 11th, 2024. Calling the meeting to order with a roll call of commission members. Commissioner Vice Chair, Commissioner Jekowitz. Here. Commissioner Boatwright.
Here.
Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Fair. Commissioner Hughes. Not, is she? Okay, not yet. Commissioner Ponce. Commissioner Rubin.
Here.
Commissioner Tolliver. Here. And I am Commissioner Wong. We do have a quorum. I'd like to ask anyone wishing to make a statement on today's agenda to complete a public comment card and give the card to a member of the staff. Comment cards are available at the door. As a courtesy to other individuals wishing to offer comments, we ask that a member of the general public limit your statements to 3 minutes or less. When the time comes for public comment on the individual item on the agenda, I'll call names from the cards and ask you to come forward to the microphone and make your statement. Please state your name and interest, organization, or company you represent, if any. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting on December 7th, 2023. Those were included in your packets. Is there any discussion? Having none, I'd like to request a motion to approve the minutes of the December 7th, 2023 regular commission meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Rubin, and second by Commissioner Boatwright. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Second item on the agenda is the preliminary landmark recommendation for the John B. Murphy Memorial located at 50 East Erie Street in this 42nd Ward. For this item, I will be recusing myself as well as Commissioner Burns. So Vice Chair Jekowitz, would you please step in for me for this agenda item?
Yes, of course, Chairman. All right, thank you. And I'd like to call on Matt Crawford for the report.
Thank you, Chairman Jekowitz. For your consideration this afternoon is a preliminary landmark recommendation for the John B. Murphy Memorial, an emblem of Chicago's national role in the history of medicine and a very fine and rare example of French Renaissance architecture in Chicago. I'd like to note that the building is ranked red in the Chicago Historic Resources Survey, red being the highest ranking conferred on only 300 buildings in the city. And of that number, more than 200 are already designated as Chicago landmarks. The Murphy Memorial is located in Chicago's near north side community area at 50 East Erie Street. Of the 7 possible criteria for landmark designation, we recommend the building meets 5 of these, including criterion 1, for representing the history of science in Chicago, particularly surgical science. The memorial was built by the American College of Surgeons, an international professional medical association of surgeons and surgical team members. It was founded in Chicago in 1913 and is still headquartered here. Prior to the establishment of the American College of Surgeons, the practice of surgery was risky as it lacked professional education and standards of practice. This 1875 painting by Thomas Eakin depicts the early surgical practices that the college sought to reform. Here we see surgeons operating in black frock coats without nursing support or basic sanitation. A few years after Eakin's painting, a photographer captured this image of surgery at Women's Hospital in Chicago. Advances include nursing support at the operating table and personal protective equipment for the team, albeit primitive. These were the kinds of things advocated by the American College of Surgeons. The Murphy Memorial became the first headquarters of the college. In addition to serving as a memorial to Surgeon John B. Murphy, who I'll discuss shortly, the memorial's auditorium was used by the college for meetings and its very important clinical congresses. And above the auditorium, the top floor of the building contained the college's skylit reading room and surgical research center, which attracted surgeons from across the country. In addition to the building's scientific history, we also recommend that it meets criterion 3 for its association with significant persons. Those would be Dr. Franklin Martin and Dr. John B. Murphy, Chicago surgeons who founded the American College of Surgeons as a means of improving surgical practice for better patient outcomes. In addition to surgeons, both men were educators. For Dr. Martin established the Chicago Postgraduate Medical School and the Journal of Surgery, Gynecology, and Obstetrics, which remains in publication. Dr. Murphy was known for his classroom operations for med students, like this 1902 procedure, which he led at Mercy Hospital. In addition to history and persons, the building is an outstanding work of architecture, both inside and out, that easily meets criterion 4. The Murphy Memorial's exterior design represents a rare local example of French Renaissance style of architecture. It was popular in Paris during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The building is abundantly detailed with crisp cut limestone ornament drawn from classical architecture, including the tall carved pediment at left and carved floral swags at right. Patinaed bronze doors are a focal point of the exterior. They were cast by the Tiffany Decorating Studios of New York City and sculpted by Charles Keck, who designed the panels to depict important figures and events in surgical science. On the interior, the primary space is this 1,000-seat auditorium located on the piano nobile level of the building above the first floor, finished with marble, highly ornate plaster, carved woodwork, and architectural metals. The ceiling of the auditorium is topped with this dome, and the stained glass window was designed by Ann Willett of the Willett Studios, a nationally significant art glass firm based in Philadelphia. There are 2 ancillary spaces to this auditorium that we recommend to be significant. These are this anteroom at left and the lobby at right. We also recommend that the building meets criterion 5 as the work of an important local architectural firm. That was Marshall & Fox, an architectural practice in Chicago in the early decades of the 20th century. Some of Marshall & Fox's best-known work shaped the development of DuSable Lakeshore Drive and Michigan Avenue, such as the Drake and Blackstone hotels shown here, both designated Chicago landmarks. The practice, particularly Marshall, was known for taking inspiration from historic classical architecture and modifying it for new programs, which they did for the Murphy Memorial, which is clearly inspired by this memorial chapel in Paris from 1901. Finally, there's that rarely used criterion, number 7, that we recommend applies to the Murphy due to its distinct physical presence in the near north side. With its highly ornamental facade, monumental scale, and slight setback from the street, the Murphy holds its own in a neighborhood now dominated by taller and newer buildings. With respect to the integrity criterion, the Murphy possesses excellent physical integrity inside and out. Until last year, the building was owned continuously by the College of Surgeons, which maintained it impeccably, leaving the building with exceptional integrity. In 2003, the college added an elevator and connection to the Driehaus Museum in the Nickerson Mansion to the west of the Murphy. These do not impair the building's integrity. In 2022, last year, or actually 2 years ago, the Driehaus Museum acquired the Murphy Memorial, and anticipating landmark designation and a rehabilitation, last June, the Driehaus Museum came to the Permit Review Committee of this commission with a proposed exterior and interior rehabilitation with a new rooftop addition. Here are existing views at left compared with renderings of the rooftop addition at right. This view looking northeast, with the addition largely obscured by the 2003 elevator addition. And here we are looking north at the front elevation, with the rooftop addition being not visible due to its setback. And here looking northwest, with the addition being minimally visible above the common brick secondary elevation. PRC approved the project with conditions, and work on this addition is currently underway. The building is located in the 42nd Ward, and Alderman Riley is in support of the proposed landmark designation. The Driehaus Museum, which owns the building, is also in support of this landmark designation. We recommend to the commission that the significant historical and architectural features of the building be preliminarily identified as all exterior elevations, including roof lines of the building, and the major historic interior spaces at the piano nobile level above the ground floor, including the lobby leading to the auditorium from the bronze doors, the anteroom to the west of the auditorium, and of course the auditorium itself, all as shown in the hatch drawing at the right on this slide. In addition, we recommend that the significant features acknowledge the PRC approval of June, and in that recommendation before you, that is clearly noted. I am here to answer any questions. I believe representatives of the Driehaus Museum are here as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. Commissioners, any questions for Matt? Commissioner Fair.
Just one question, Matt. Just to clarify about the current work that's taking place at the roof line and how that impacts the elevation. Is that going to be a part of the landmark and protected facades? So you're not.
Yes, that's,
Okay.
so in the significant features language in the resolution before you, it acknowledges that PRC approval, and that work will continue to be part of the landmark designation.
Okay.
Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fair. Any additional questions, commissioners? There being none, are there any representatives from the ownership that would like to make a statement?
Hello, everyone. My name's Clark Christensen. I'm with Antunovich Associates. We're the, architects and planners that have been working with the Driehaus Museum, both at the Murphy Memorial as well as the Nickerson Mansion, going back to 2003 when the Driehaus operation or Driehaus companies purchased the Nickerson Mansion at that point, and then they have added to the campus with a purchase last year of the Murphy Memorial. So we have a long relationship with them, and we're very pleased to be part of this project. And I just want to say that on behalf of the museum director, Lisa Key, as well as the board for the museum, we're just very excited that this project is taking the next step. And I also want to point out or say that want to thank the commission and the commission staff for the support that you have provided to us, the design team, as well as the contractor, in our ability to carry out a project that's currently underway. So, and I'm happy to report that we are tracking on time for a late March, early April delivery of the expansion and renovation project. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Commissioners, any questions for the architect? Thank you. There being no further questions, I'd like to ask for comments from the public, and we have a couple comments. We'll begin with Ward Miller.
Good afternoon, members of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks. I'm Ward Miller, the Richard H. Driehaus Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. Happy 2024 to each of you. We at Preservation Chicago fully and enthusiastically support the preliminary landmark recommendation for the John B. Murphy Memorial Building located at 50 East Erie Street on Chicago's near north side. Located in what historically had been known as McCormickville, recognizing the many members of Chicago's prominent McCormick family, which occupied opulent mansions in this vicinity of Erie, Rush, and Wabash Avenue. The Murphy Memorial is perfectly situated among giants of Chicago's Gilded Age. The Murphy Memorial is a spectacular structure designed by architects Marshall and Fox in the French Renaissance style for the American College of Surgeons in 1926, primarily as an auditorium building for the adjoining headquarters in the Chicago landmark Nickerson Mansion, constructed in 1883. The Murphy Memorial was built to honor the great medical doctor John B. Murphy and represent perhaps a last reflection, if you will, of the Gilded Age of architecture as one of the last grandiose scaled structures in the neighborhood, which was not a commercial building. The structure was a distinguished memorial to the legendary Dr. Murphy and provided a much needed expansion and auditorium for the American College of Surgeons, which was gifted the Nickerson Mansion by prominent citizens. So the Murphy, in a sense, in all of its beauty and function, provided the means for a long-term preservation of Nickerson's marble palace as well. Now the Driehaus Museum and the Nickerson Mansion provides a fabulous reuse of the Murphy to expand their programming and exhibitions. Both buildings have prospered under this wonderful relationship, almost needing and requiring one another for their very own survival for most of the past century. This relationship between the two buildings and institutions coexisting together almost most likely saved them each from incredible development pressures over the years and to this day, when both will be finally recognized as designated Chicago landmarks, which is so very important. Once again, they were historically stretching back almost a century. Both the Nickerson and Murphy they're now united again under the same ownership and care, and they are now both part of the Richard H. Driehaus Museum. We'd also like to share that the acquisition of the Murphy Memorial to become part of the Richard H. Driehaus Museum complex and as a designated landmark is a fulfillment of the vision of Chicago philanthropist Richard H. Driehaus, who passed away almost 3 years ago. Richard very much shared with us at Preservation Chicago that he wanted to see this building join his museum complex, and he also very much desired to see the building as a designated landmark. This wish and vision by Mr. Driehaus has now been fulfilled by the institutions that bear his name in the beginning of this landmarks process. We at Preservation Chicago enthusiastically support this Chicago landmark designation.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Of the Murphy Memorial Delay. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have one more, Mr. George Blakemore.
Very important. I have attended this, a landmark many, many times. And usually you have this little booklet. I suggest that you have these booklets up here again. Usually you'll be in over one of these other rooms. So it's very important. Now, I was blessed to live half a block on Gilbert and Schiller from Mr. Driehaus. That was a historical building. You know, these are our rich people who are the founders of our city. And we need this place packed with people. You have a job here, and I'm on a mission here to inform and enlighten and engage the people. You want them to be cultured. You want them to know their history. So if like a little clique of you all come down here and get this information, and one of all these empty seats, you want to inform and enlighten and engage your citizens. So you have a great challenge here. This new lady that's taking Mr. Cox's place. It's a new challenge for you. So I looked around, I always see color. I'm black. Our people would love to know about our history. So you have a big job here to educate, to inform, and engage your constituents. Look at here at these empty seats. Look at it. And mostly white folks. Black people like to know about the history too and their culture. Hispanic, Asian, all of us to make this a great city. So again, please have these booklets back here. I would love to have that booklet. Y'all usually have them back here, and I would be able to get more knowledge. Knowledge is power. So I expect this new lady that's took Mr. Cox's place to pack this place up with some black people. Yes, I'm playing the race card. I can play it. I can see it. So God bless each one of you. And I will sign up for these other historical buildings. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blakemore. There's no more public comment cards. If there is anyone who has not filled out a card and would like to speak on this matter, now is the time to do so. I don't see anyone. And if there's no further comments, I'd like to request any discussion from the commission. Seeing none, I'd like to request a motion to adopt this preliminary landmark recommendation for the John B. Murphy Memorial at 50 East Erie Street. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved, Commissioner Tolliver. Do we have a second? Second with Commissioner Boatright. And do the roll call. Commissioner Ponce. Commissioner Ponce is a yes. Commissioner Fair. Yes. Commissioner Rubin.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm a yes, and this motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. And if Chairman Wong and Commissioner Burns can please come back to join us. Thank you.
All right. We're on item number 3. This is a report from the Department of Planning and Development on Apollo's 2000 located at 2875 West Cermak Road in the 24th Ward. And Commissioner Boatright.
Sure. The proposed designation of Apollo's 2000 does not raise any concerns or issues from a planning perspective, so I don't have a formal report for the commission, but I would like to state for the record that I recommend approval of the proposed designation.
Does the commission have any questions for Commissioner Boatright? Having none, and no report to accept, we'll go to public comments. Let me start with Max Chavez.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Max Chavez, Director of Research and Special Projects at Preservation Chicago. I'm here to speak in support once more for the landmarking of Apollo's 2000 Theater. This 1917 movie palace, designed by architect Alexander Levy, is a stellar example of the neighborhood movie theater, which in their heydays here in Chicago drew communities together under one roof for entertainment and really joy. We've lost dozens of these special places, many of which rivaled some of the finest international architecture of their time and beyond, but others, like Apollo's 2000, thankfully remain here in our city, and they're worthy of our attention. Last month's presentation by Landmark staff did a really excellent job at conveying the undeniable importance of this place. And I think even to further that, the really beautiful comments given by the Galindo family showed that this building really means the world to them. Their deep personal connection to the theater resonated so strongly, and it demonstrates that they're the perfect stewards for this theater, and that this hopefully soon-to-be landmark is in good hands for many more years to come, which I think is really important when we're considering what buildings to landmark. So it's for all these reasons and so many more that Preservation Chicago continues to endorse and support landmarking Apollo's 2000. The designation would secure the theater's place in the landscape of Chicago architecture and history, and ensure that it would continue to tell the story of these important community spaces that represented so much entertainment and happiness for so many communities for so long. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Mr. Blakemore?
repetition is the way of teaching, doing the same thing over and over. So I'm here again, and I'm encouraging you, Chairman, and you that sitting on this board. This is a history lesson, the history of the city of Chicago. You can study the history through their architecture, their buildings. They tell a story. So this is why I continue to show up here. Because again, I would like to know more about this building, and you should have these copies. And I'm going to educate the people. I use it, but my iPhone is off now, to tell them these buildings would have to meet 7 criteria. You know, I studied history and government in college. And so I'm not your typical citizen. We need typical citizens. We don't need just a little cadre of white folks here talking about history. This is our history too, and you must be included. You must inform and engage other people about this. I think it's wonderful that when I come to these meetings, this is a way of educating me. I'm 80, I'll be 82 on February the 19th. And did you know I'm still learning? And our young people need this history. You must reach out to the school. It must be a part of educating our children in the school. This will be a wonderful day to see school children here learning about our history through our architecture building. So it's something that you're not doing, that Mr. Blakemore see you're not doing. And he's calling you out. And that's good, he's here. And I told this police lady running behind me like I'm gonna do something bad. I said, you don't know me. You don't know my past. You don't know my heart for my people. This is disgraceful to have no black people here but me. Now I finished, and I'm gonna speak on these other 2 items for 3 also. You don't know me.
Thank you, Mr. Blakemore. Mr. Miller?
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and Mr. Chairman. Ward Miller, the Richard H. Treehouse Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. We at Preservation Chicago fully support the report from the Department of Planning and Development on the Apollos 2000 Theater, otherwise known as the Marshall Square Theater. You know, there are few landmarks in this community of South Lawndale, Little Village, that are recognized as designated Chicago landmarks. And in an effort to capture more of those and to represent sort of the true population of our city, we'd like to encourage more of these types of buildings to be designated landmarks. The family, by the way, is here to support the designation. They're right behind me here. And we'd also like to bring your attention to the fact that there are other nearby buildings in this community, especially in North Lawndale. We wanted to share 3 buildings at Ogden Avenue and Keeler by Alfred Alschuler, 2 of them by Alfred Alschuler, that are both threatened with demolition, that were not red or orange rated in the CHRS, and they're facing a demolition threat immediately. I just wanted to mention that if we could really canvass and gather more landmarks in this community, like the Apollos 2000 Theater, I think that would really indicate that landmarks are for everybody in Chicago. We're excited about that idea, so just wanted to offer that as a suggestion to the commission, the staff, and the city. We very much love this landmark designation. This is a great building. It always inspires one to look at it, to experience it whenever you're traveling the Boulevard system in Chicago, or driving down or walking down one of these nearby streets. So I just wanted to mention that the family is here, the ownership. If you'd be interested in hearing from them, they're right behind me here. So thank you so much for your consideration of this. Thank you so much for a great report from the department, and for honoring a real a real Chicago community landmark with this amazing history, touching generations of people in so many ways. This is a really marvelous landmark to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Nobody else has signed up to speak. If there's anybody, would you like to make a comment? If you could state your name.
Of course, Evelyn Galindo on behalf of the Apollos 2000. Once again, thank you for your time. I can't state enough how grateful and overwhelming it's been to see the support and the enthusiasm behind us potentially becoming a landmark. I know we're extremely excited for it. It means a lot to us. And seeing the support from Chicago Preservations, the commissioners, and just the city as a whole has been wonderful. I hope that we can serve as an example and to remove perhaps some of the stigma around what it is to be a landmark, and for it to be something that many aspire to have also, particularly in the surrounding neighborhoods. So if we can assist in any way, we're happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Javier Galindo, and well, the owner or the steward, I'm not gonna say owner because I always told my wife we can't actually bite on the bricks. So we're just holding the key for the time being. But we're trying to be as respectful as possible of maintaining more than anything else the great history that the building entails. We are very, very proud of it, and we are very, very grateful for your support. We cannot stress that enough. I mean, you have been extremely embracing to us and to the idea and approaching our neighborhood and to hopefully turning this building into a landmark. It means a whole lot, not just to us, but to the whole community. And again, the question has always been asked, why do we want to turn it into a landmark? Two things. I let the building speak for itself. It's my first child, but I really hear it calling out. I really hear it screaming out for recognition and respect. The building, the history, everything that it entails. Every day that I walk inside, it's an awesome experience because just the history involved in it. And I try to absorb that feeling and be respectful of it. But the building calls out for respect and recognition. And again, my community calls out for the same, respect and recognition. And I know that through your assigning it landmark status, you will also be recognizing our community and giving it the respect that it deserves. And when I say our community, I'm talking basically all of Chicago. This does not belong to just Little Village or the Hispanic community. No, it's way beyond that. That's precisely where we want to go. That's precisely what we want to do. We want to open it up to the city. That's the whole idea behind it. So we pray that that's the process that we go through, and that you will allow us to see it become a landmark. Thank you very much, and we hope to be involved in the process. Thank you once again. It's awesome.
Thank you. Could you, staff, if you could make sure that you get the sign-in sheet for them so that it goes on record? Appreciate that. Is there any other further discussion by the commission? As there was no report to accept the action item before us, the vote to continue with the designation process. I'd like to request a motion to take the next step in the designation process to request consent from the property owners. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And moved by Commissioner Jackowitz, second by Commissioner Burns. I'll do the roll call. Commissioner Boatright?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns? Commissioner Fair? Commissioner Ponce? Who's seconded? Oh, sorry. Commissioner Rubin? Commissioner Tolliver? And I'm a yes as well. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Phoebe and John Gray House located at 4362 West Gray Street in the 30th Ward. And Eilish, if you could give us the report on that.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Eilish Tuffy, Historic Preservation Staff. In September, you voted for a preliminary recommendation for the Phoebe and John Gray House, an early wood frame Italianate on one of the oldest surviving farmhouses in Chicago. I'm pleased to report that this designation was suggested by a member of the public with support from its owners. The official consent form was received on December 1st, and you may now consider a final recommendation to City Council. The Gray House is located on Chicago's northwest side in the Irving Park community area. The house occupies a large corner lot at the northeast corner of Grace and Costner Avenue, just north of Milwaukee. You preliminarily found that the Gray House meets 2 criteria for Chicago Landmark designation, including criterion 1 as an example of Irving Park's rural history prior to annexation by the city of Chicago. The Gray House's scale, which has gracious proportions, and its setting on a large corner lot illustrate the contrast between early settlers' residence and later homes in the area. As of 1851, Jefferson Township was largely natural prairie and had a population of 744 residents, most of whom would have been farmers. The location of the Gray Farm is indicated on the map 8 miles northwest of downtown Chicago, which is outlined in yellow. The original owners of the Gray House, John and Phoebe, are pictured here later in life in an undated photograph. As background on their origins, the Grays were both originally from upstate New York, close to the Canadian border. During the War of 1812, Phoebe and John would have been just 2 and 3 years old, respectively, when naval blockades and battles were occurring along the river, St. Lawrence River. The couple would not meet one another, however, until their mid-20s. In 1834, they married and soon departed New York to make a life out west. By 1837, the Grays were living in Chicago and working as hotel proprietors. They took over operation of John Kinsey's Green Tree Tavern near Wolf Point, which by that time had been renamed the Chicago Hotel. After living and working in Chicago for 14 years, the Grays relocated initially to the village of Niles in an area called Dutchman's Point. The image on the right shows an example of a plank road. Traversing from Chicago into more rural surrounding areas, these plank roads provided a more easily navigable path of travel than dirt roads. Farmers and merchants would load their wagons with hay, produce, and other goods to make the journey to downtown Chicago markets. Inns were often located along the plank roads, and their clientele would have included those traveling farmers and merchants. After 6 years in Niles, the Grays built their own private residence at the Gray Street location in Irving Park. The Grays acquired 320 acres of land and built a farmhouse that in the mid-1800s would have been very distant from their nearest neighbors. Altogether, the Grays and their 6 children lived in the house on Gray Street for 20 years. In 1873, John Gray paid to construct the Grayland train station, shown in the upper right, along the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railroad. This strategy helped facilitate the subdivision and sale of Gray's farmland for residential development. The Grays also deeded land for community buildings such as the Jefferson Town Hall, which was located in 6 Corners, and St. John's Episcopal Church, shown in the lower right image. The church still stands just north of the Gray House on Costner Avenue. However, the original Grayland train station was demolished many years ago. In September, you also found that the building meets criterion 4 as a fine example of Italianate style architecture dating to the 1850s. Because the area was part of the distant and rural Jefferson Township when the home was built and its construction predated the Great Chicago Fire by over a decade, the Gray House is a rare surviving example of a wood frame farmhouse within the current city limits. Likely derived from popular pattern books of the day, the Gray House is a fine example of the Italianate style. The Italianate style dominated American housing constructed between 1850 and 1880. It takes inspiration from Italian architecture, but instead of classical forms, the Italianate is modeled on rambling farmhouses in Italy's agricultural regions. Character defining features of Italianate residences are 2 to 3 stories in height, relatively flat wall surfaces, low-pitched roofs with bracketed cornices, and tall, narrow windows topped by segmental or curved arches that project from the wall. All these features are found in the circa 1856 Gray House. The wraparound porch was constructed in 1924, replacing a modest covered front stoop at the home's front door. It's supported by wooden Ionic columns. The exterior walls are wood frame, clad with wood clapboards and trim. Underneath the overhanging eaves are scroll sawn brackets on a fascia band. The west elevation facing Costner Avenue includes the 3-story tower and the narrow end of the original T-shaped floor plan. The 1950s photo on the right shows the house when the driveway was located at the rear of the building. In 1989, the driveway was relocated to the side yard, which made room for the 2-story rear addition. While development of the surrounding lots in the late 19th and early 20th century, initiated by Gray himself, placed new buildings in close proximity to the former farmhouse, the site retains a large corner lot and generous side yard. In September, you preliminarily found that the Gray House also meets the integrity criterion in the landmarks ordinance. The building is significant for its association with the early agricultural history of many Chicago neighborhoods, and as a fine example of 19th century Italianate style architecture. The Gray's original farmhouse, minus additions at the rear of the property, has remained visually intact and relatively unchanged since 1924. The overall building form, wood frame construction, and architectural detailing have been maintained over time. Its once rural setting in the Irving Park community area has changed with new development, but that development was part of the Gray family's legacy in the creation of the Grayland subdivision. The house's spacious corner lot and large side yard help create distance from its neighbors and retain some sense of the house's original environment. The Gray House is an exceptional example of 19th century pattern book architecture, a design and distribution method popular in suburban development. The Gray House is a handsome example of residential architecture in the Italianate style, which was highly popular in the built history of Chicago and the United States. The building is in the 30th Ward. Alderwoman Cruz is aware of the proposed designation and previously submitted a letter of support. We recommend that the significant historical and architectural features of the Gray House be identified as all exterior elevations, including roof lines of the building. Excluded from the significant features is the property's current garage, which, although historic in its design, dates to 1989. You have a final landmark recommendation to that effect at your places. This concludes my presentation. The owners of the Gray House, Chris and David Cloud, are with us today. We're available for questions from the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise. Does the commission have any questions for Elise? Having none with the owners, would you all like to make a statement?
Thank you. I hadn't planned on speaking, but I will say that when we moved into the house 8 years ago, we were approached frequently by people in the neighborhood who were concerned that we might tear it down for development. And we said, of course not. Why would we do that? So there was some anxiety in the neighborhood about the house being lost. And I would also point out that John Gray was a fairly significant actor in the history of Chicago by virtue of his anti-slavery posture, his benevolent gestures in the community, and being the first Republican sheriff of Cook County at a time when the Republicans were a very different party. Thank you very much. I'll
Thank you,
answer any
sir.
questions if there are any.
Great. Does the commission have any questions of their own? Having none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll go to public comments now. Mr. Blakemore?
I've always, have not been very critical of this commission when people buy and purchase these historical buildings and they receive tax incentives. Some of them is the exterior, but the interior is very important too. And if some of them can't afford to go back and try to get the original woodwork and everything original, Mr. Treehouse could do that because he had money. He was rich. I watched this building right at Dearborn and Schiller. I say, now why is it taking him so long? Let's go up to fix up this building. He was going back to the old country in Europe to get the lightings outside and everything. He was able to do that. But some of you buy these historical buildings and you only gut them out. And it's historical from the outside. But if there's no facsimile on the inside, they're modern. So I suggest, if you can, with this board, try to find people who have the money to do the exterior and the interior, and you would have a true historical landmark. So that's why it's very important to a man like the caliber of Mr. Blakemore to be here. That treehouse building have the interior and the exterior. They have money. But if you're too poor, you just buying a historical building and just gutting it out for you and get tax incentives as a historical landmark. So I'm not up here for you to like me and what I say. I'm not intimidated by you. And I hope you're not intimidated by me. So I suggest, if you can do that, if you can't say we're doing the best we can, but try to market these historical sites out to people who can afford to do the exterior and the interior. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blakemore. Mr. Miller?
Good afternoon. I promise this is my last time speaking before you at the commission meeting. Ward Miller, Richard H. Treehouse, Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. We want to thank the commission, the department and the staff, the city, and the ownership, Chris and David Cloud, for bringing this incredible building before us today with an early Chicago history, and of course, dating to the earliest days of the town of Jefferson Township, and an amazing family that did so much in this area. When we think of Old Irving Park, we think of wonderful and beautiful houses like this, many of them which languish unprotected, if you will. We do have the Nuveen House was threatened with demolition. You just heard from the owners that the community was very much worried about this house when they purchased it potentially being harmed or demolished. I think of the Race House and the Whistle Stop, but other than that, there are really not a lot of landmarks or landmark districts in this area. And I think this is a fine example of the great buildings of Old Irving Park. I know the Historical Society in Old Irving Park has wanted a long time to consider a Chicago landmark district of more of this area because the lots are big. A lot of the houses are frame or they're early in Chicago's history and Grayland's history and Old Irving Park's history. So we just want to encourage that more outreach to the community to look at more landmark buildings or a landmark district, including these kinds of houses. So we're not begging owners, if you will, to come forward to landmark their buildings, which we love doing, but it's hard to do this one at a time. But this is really a wonderful district of historic houses. This is probably one of the best of them, but we wanted to encourage more discussion and consideration on the future of a Chicago landmark district for the Old Irving, Grayland community of Chicago. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Nobody else has signed up to speak on this item. Is there any further discussion by the commission? If not, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the final landmark recommendation to City Council for the Phoebe and John Gray House located at 4362 West Grace Street. Is there a motion? So move, Commissioner Boatright, second. Second by Commissioner Tolliver? Thank you. Do the roll call, Commissioner Jekowitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns? Commissioner Fair? Commissioner Ponce? Commissioner Rubin? And I am a yes as well. The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. Next item on the agenda is the Class L property tax incentive application for the former Mid-City Trust and Savings Bank building located at 801 West Madison Street and 2 South Halsted Street in 34th Ward. And Alicia, this is yours too.
And members of the team are just coming up to the dais.
Fantastic.
Great. Good afternoon again, Commissioners. Eilish Tuffy, Historic Preservation Staff. ECG Madison LLC, the owner and applicant, has submitted a Class L application for the former Mid-City Bank and Trust building. The property is located at the southwest corner of Halsted and Madison on the near west side. The bank building was constructed between 1911 and 1928 and was designated as an individual Chicago landmark in 2012. It's currently vacant, and this proposal will revitalize the historic landmark. The owner, ECG Madison LLC, purchased the building in 2022 and intends to convert the former bank for use as the neighborhood hotel. Floors 2 through 6 will be the primary hotel floors, with a portion of the ground floor and basement to be used as a hotel lobby and for service areas. Retail and restaurant tenants are also intended as phase 2 of this overall project. The scope of work was reviewed and conditionally approved by the Permit Review Committee of the Landmarks Commission on October 5th. The property is located in the 34th Ward. Alderman Conway has seen the project scope and submitted a letter of support in August. We also have Dan Luna and Steve Valenziano from the Alderman's office here, and they would like to make a statement after the presentation. Exterior work includes masonry repairs and tuck pointing as necessary, cleaning of all facades, historic window repairs at the ground level and second floor, repair or replacement of upper story windows as needed, historic door repairs, and exterior architectural lighting. Roof work will include repair of the third floor skylights, which bring natural light into the banking hall. The interior scope of work includes construction of a new hotel lobby. The historic staircase will be partitioned off using clear glass to meet fire code requirements without obstructing views of character-defining interior features. 2 existing elevators will be repaired and 2 new elevators will be added for safe egress. Hotel suites will be built out on the upper floors, from the mezzanine level overlooking the banking hall up through the 6th floor. New mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection fixtures will also be installed to replace the building's obsolete systems. The minimum investment required for eligibility for the Class L is $8.1 million plus the value of any tax credits and grants received. The owner will be spending $26.5 million in qualifying rehabilitation expenses, which exceeds the 50% minimum investment required to qualify. Total project cost for the adaptive reuse, including the acquisition costs, is $53 million. The Class L project will achieve 50 sustainability points by earning an ENERGY Star and by exceeding the energy code by 5%. Construction work is projected to be complete by spring of 2025. A tax analysis has been prepared by the city's finance staff, the department's finance staff, to estimate the value of the incentive to the applicant. The current annual taxes for the property are $769,109. An estimated property taxes over the 12-year period with rehab of the property, but without a Class L incentive, would be $15.4 million. Estimated property taxes over the same period of time with the Class L incentive in place is approximately $7.2 million. The total tax abatement to the applicant will be $8.2 million or $6 million net present value. After the Class L period, annual taxes for the property are estimated to be $1.76 million or $460,245 more than if the building were not rehabilitated. Staff recommends approval of the request for the Class L incentive for the project, and a draft recommendation is at your places. Representatives of the applicant are here, including Liz Butler, attorney for the owner, Jonathan Gordon, CEO and founder of the Neighborhood Hotel, and his support team for the Class L. We're available to answer any questions you may have. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Eileen. Does the commission have any questions for staff at this time? Eileen, how long has the building been vacant? Because I recall seeing this way.
Yeah, 2005.
Yeah,
2005. Okay.
over 15 years.
Great. Floor is yours. Oh, Commissioner Bowman.
One more question. I think you did say the total development cost, but can you repeat the total development cost and remind me your construction anticipated start and completion again?
So the total project cost is $53 million. And the estimated start date,
Interior demo will commence this month, hoping to complete in summer of 2025.
Thank you.
Great. Floor is yours. Yeah. Oh, Commissioner Fair. Go ahead.
Oops, that's one way to break it. Just a question about the elements that are landmarked with the property. Were any of the interior spaces landmarked? Okay.
yes, the interior banking hall, the historic banking hall was landmarked as part of the original designation and is in the ordinance as such.
Got it. Thank you.
Great. Okay, now the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to ask Jonathan Gordon to make a statement.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members of the commission. Up here today, we have David Zielinski with Papa George Hames, our architect, Liz Butler, who runs zoning and does a lot of wonderful things for us. Craig Millspaugh is with my company on the asset management side, and Emily Ramsey with Ramsey Historic Consultants. The building is like an absolute, wow, a complete stunner, deserves this designation and needs a lot of love to get it there. So we're excited to take on this process. I founded the Neighborhood Hotel and Experiential Capital Group. We're a Chicago-based company, and we're committed to the city and all of its neighborhoods. As founder and owner and operator of the brand, I'm in charge of the strategic direction for management leasing and business development. Before I formed ECG, I was an asset manager at Equity Commonwealth. Prior to that, I was with Cushman & Wakefield and Transwestern doing downtown office brokerage. I'm also a commissioner for the SSA 23 and learning how this project sits at the front door to the West Loop, where Greektown meets Madison Row and Fulton Market. So we appreciate a favorable recommendation today for the Class L. As you heard, we acquired the property in fall of '22. We're investing over $50 million in the restoration, reactivation, and adaptive reuse of the building that's been vacant for 15 years. Our hotels, we have 4 locations open. We sit in the center of key neighborhoods, main commercial districts, and our hotels are powered by small businesses in the streets that we serve. So Lincoln Park, our location there opened at Clark and Wrightwood in March of 2020. That building we restored, it was 1893 construction, built to encourage artists from the Columbian Exposition to stay in the city. And we've celebrated every bit of historical detail. It's a big reason why customers keep coming back. We serve a lot of leisure travel. Everyone who lives in the neighborhood tells us first, we're their extra bedroom. I turned my bedroom into an office because now my mother-in-law can stay at your hotel. We also serve DePaul and Lincoln Park, as well as corporate and healthcare travel. We have 2 locations in Southwest Michigan, in New Buffalo. One of those was a 1914 roadside inn, deep ties to Chicago and the Southside communities. At the end of last year, we brought back to life the former Italian-American Sports Hall of Fame. That building was vacant since 2019. We completed an extensive adaptive reuse project to turn that into 35 hotel suites to serve travelers to Little Italy, but also the Illinois Medical District and UIC. We encourage you all to come stay at one of our locations, go online, read the reviews. We're having a lot of fun embracing these neighborhoods. 801 West Madison, the architecture is stunning. The location's, visible and important, and it really was the home to, Mid-City Trust and Savings Bank. And we can bring it back to be a thriving community anchor again. The development has a lot of unique challenges, but we are embracing all of those to produce a project that has a lot of character, as it should. The cost of the renovations, are prohibitively high, and the project needs the financial assistance to work. As you all also know, the construction industry is still experiencing skyrocketing costs for labor and materials, which just adds more stress to our team's efforts to go deliver a successful project. And we need the tax incentives from the city, so we appreciate that. And we think the Class L program is designed exactly for this kind of use. So on behalf of our team, we want to express our gratitude to the historic preservation staff for their work in reviewing the project and shepherding it through the PRC review committee and the Class L project review. We've learned a lot through the process and appreciate the guidance of everybody here. So we're grateful for your partnership and expertise, and appreciate the time today. In addition to the community and everybody walking by and sharing stories about being in the banking lobby with their parents to go cash a check, and the support we've received from Alderman Conway and the team, it's nice to have a project that everyone is so strongly behind. So our team is available to answer any questions that the commission might have, and we are excited to kick off this project with demo starting this month.
Thank you. Did you guys want to add anything further? Go ahead, Ivy.
Chair, I just wanted to make sure that we have the alderman staff.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Steve Valenziano. I'm with Alderman Conway's office, reviewing development proposals like this for the 34th Ward, and the Alderman strongly supports this project, and he also supports this application
to aid in the rehabilitation, both interior and exterior, and the reuse of this building. So, thank you.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions of the applicant?
Yeah.
Commissioner Fair?
Just a quick question. Yeah, and super exciting project. Yeah, if you've ever been around there, it's kind of a little blank spot right now on the block. So to see it activated would be great. Just curious if you all had any ideas or could share about the ground floor tenants that you're thinking of. I know you mentioned about working with local, companies and things like that.
And we definitely see the intersection as connecting Madison, two-way street from the lake all the way through the west side. And it's just a highly visible marquee intersection, and whatever goes there, should be a place that could support the community multiple times in a day. So we don't know what that's going to be, but there's a big wow factor, and it's like jaw-droppingly cool, and we know that we will find the right user at the right time.
And along the same lines, do you have an idea of the mural that you would be placing there? There's right, you said you are going to do a mural and a canopy?
We would love the ability to do a mural. David can talk about what we presented.
I think you're referring to the mural on the west elevation, sort of on the alley side.
Mm-hmm.
We've run through a few options that obviously would have to go through both landmarks and the state for the National Historic Register. We've had a few design options, but nothing's been chosen yet. I think the leading mural style is trying to sort of, I'm going to point out there, you can kind of see those windows that are infilled there. Sort of make it a painted mural where those are activated a little bit to look like maybe there's something going on behind those, and then also use the glass block. But to that end, obviously, there's still some design and approval processes that needs to go through.
Any other questions?
Thank
I had a number of, I had a couple of questions. You had mentioned that the interior demolition is going to start later this month. The building envelope actually is one of the concerns I had. You had identified a number of the tuck pointing. Are you doing a re-roof on the entire thing? I saw the skylights are being replaced. Okay.
Yeah, and including a re-roof over both the upper floor roof and the sections around the skylight
Okay.
as well.
Because I do also recall there was quite a bit of water damage at one time that had
Yeah.
occurred in this building.
Yeah, especially on the inside, you can see where there were
Sure.
some leaks. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether that was from busted pipes or from infiltration. The second question I had was, and I'm glad you're a commissioner on the SSA. There's been strong concern about Greektown and how that has lost its flavor. Any discussion that you guys have been having with the chamber and et cetera about, in regard to Commissioner Fair's question about local businesses, et cetera? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, our hotel is designed to be powered by the neighborhood. So, excuse my language, but we don't have shitty room service in Lincoln Park, but we're next to the Wiener Circle.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
what I was gonna say.
Classic and iconic. We don't have a gym on presence in Lincoln Park, but we help you understand the best running route to go up and down the lake. And by the way, there's a washer dryer, so you can go home with clean clothes. So it's an immersive neighborhood experience. A family can stay at a high-end on Wacker Drive, and maybe they stay River North. They stay at one of our hotels, and they feel like they're part of the community. So we will continue to take that to this West Loop location. And Liz brought up the support of Rod Birch and WCA. But we have been fortunate to find support because of our Community First business plan wherever we've gone. And Rod and the WCA team, like similar to a lot of us, we walked by this building for so many years and said, somebody needs to do something. So we just have the gift of being the people that get to go deliver a special project.
That was it? Actually, I did want to talk about the Wiener Circle discount, but that is it for me before we go to public comments. Unless anybody else has any comments. All right, Mr. Blakemore, you're on.
I hope you're on. Anyway, I was listening and I was watching that's the development team there. And now you're coming in the waters of the public. And here in the city of Chicago, we have MBs and WBs. I'm against that. I believe in a set aside of these contracts for Black people, 30%. But however, that's no law, but that's what I advocate for. Now, I don't see anybody on your development team that looks like me. I can play the race cards you see. I'm not blind. I'm not crazy. Now you coming in, you asking the public for a tax incentive. And Black people pay taxes. So any of the rehab, anything that happens, if I would go to this site, I would expect to see some Black people. Now, this is why we don't progress as Black people. When we sit on these boards, we are silent. You can see the same thing I can see. You two that's on this board. Tax incentive. So the citizens are paying for that rehab, for this building. And the 34th ward, that's a Black ward. What happened that it came all the way downtown? What happened there? There's something wrong here. Everything that look good is not good. Everybody that talk good is not good. Everybody that dress good is not good. Everybody who act good is not good. I'm smelling something, and it stinks. I want you to tell this with these tax incentives how many workers are going to be working that's Black like me. What do we get from this? What do the Black community get from this? So again, this is why it's very, very, very important to have a citizen like Mr. Blakemore. He connects the dots. He's in the room. Not only those two Blacks are in the room, I'm in here. And I'm watching. And I don't like what I'm doing. I want you to guarantee that that tax expense, that money that you'll get, that they don't have Black workers. That's why God picked me. He used me. Because I'm another God. I see exactly what's going on here. And if you can't explain that, why you can't? Why you can't? And if you can't ask, now we'll be see, and I signed up for another seminar.
Thank you, Mr. Blakemore. Mr. Miller.
Yes, Commissioners, good afternoon again. Ward Miller, Richard H. Treehouse, Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. Mea culpa, I fibbed. But who could, I said that the last item would be my final statement, but who could not support such a wonderful project as this? This building really speaks to the power of landmarking. It was landmarked more than 15 years ago. Used to adopt the landmark monies to restore its cornice, to keep this building, this missing cornice, to keep this building looking in good shape, even when there was a previous owner that was difficult. This reuse as a hotel, a neighborhood hotel, really does speak to the power of landmarking. This building would have been gone long ago and replaced with a tall building. We would have lost that human scale of beautiful architecture and a beautiful building and a great opportunity to integrate this structure into the West Loop and downtown Chicago. So Preservation Chicago is on board completely with this project. We welcome the developer and the development team. We want to thank the Department of Planning and Development and the staff and all of you on the Landmarks Commission that are behind that are supporting these efforts to reuse our historic buildings, even when they've been vacant for 15 years. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Nobody else has signed up to speak on this item. Any other further discussion from the commission? If not, I'd like to request a motion to approve the recommendation of City Council for the Class L property tax incentive for the former Mid-City Trust and Savings Bank located at 801 West Madison Street and 2 South Halsted Street. Is there a motion? So move, Commissioner Burns. Second, Commissioner Rubin. Commissioner Jackwitz.
Yes.
Commissioner Boatright.
Yes.
Commissioner Fair. Commissioner Ponce. Commissioner Tolliver. And I am a yes as well. The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, item number 6 is the Permanent Review Committee reports. And Commissioner Jackwitz, this is you.
Yes. The Permanent Review Committee reviewed and conditionally
Can you turn the, is the mic on? Yep, there you go.
Thank you, Chairman. The Permanent Review Committee reviewed and conditionally approved one project at its December 7th, 2023 meeting. The report summarizing the scope of the proposed project and the committee's decisions was included in your packets, and this report is for your information and for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Jackwitz. And Emily, you have a report?
Yes, thank you. For the month of December, staff reviewed 74 permit applications. A total of 110 reviews were performed by staff, with the average number of days to issue approval or corrections being 4.7.
Thank you. Mr. Blakemore, you signed up to speak on item number 6 is the permanent review reports.
Thank you, sir.
I will allow it, just, I mean, these are announcements, sir. So I just-
No, but I'm wanting, I was reading number 6 and also number 7.
Yeah.
And what I was trying to make a statement is about a reading is fundamental, and you're gonna have, it says, your meeting on the 7th, a landmark designation and nomination for National Register and Historical Places will be held on Tuesday, January the 16th at 2024. Now, I'm wanting to speak on that issue. At 79 and Stony Island,
Okay.
the Regal Building. So, last time I came here, I just couldn't understand that you all adopt a historical building. And I think that you should look at the Regal right there at 79 and Stony Island.
Yep.
However, one of the Altmans have another building with the same name. So it's, I want you to, if you can, the young man that owns this building, I think he lives in Florida, that he's very interested in getting a grant or something. But do you all adopt a historical building, don't you?
We do. I mean,
Right, well,
you go through a process.
Are you
Yes.
familiar with the Regal there?
I don't know.
It's
personally.
right there at Stony Island.
Yep.
And 79, and the lady that's taking Mr. Cox's place, she's familiar with that building.
Okay.
The new lady.
Commissioner
And so
Boatright,
maybe I
yeah.
can speak to her later about this topic, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that was an announcement, and final announcement is meeting of the program committee, review of suggestions. The program committee's review of suggestions received from the public for Chicago landmark designation and nominations to the National Register of Historic Places will be held on Tuesday, January 16th, 2024, 3 o'clock at City Hall, room 1003A. Deadline for submissions is Monday, January 15th. All suggestions must be submitted on the suggestion form available on the Chicago Landmarks website at chicago.gov/DPD. And Mr. Blakemore, that's your opportunity also. That's your suggestion for the Regal Theater. We'll have a staff member contact you. You bet. Okay, Having no further business, I'd like to request a motion to adjourn. I don't have to call for a second. All in favor? Okay, all right, Commissioner Jekowitz.
Committee will start at 2:15.
All right.
Don't be afraid of color.